Dear listeners, feel the real fear with us. Horror stories from all over the country and abroad. Those who have been, are being, or will be involved in today's episode, greetings and love to everyone. I hope everyone is well and healthy. Like every episode, I am with you all to present the events you sent. Let's move on to our next story. Once again, welcome. The story I am going to share with you is from someone named Mark. He had sent us a story earlier as well. He lives in Los Angeles. The story he sent is about an incident with his uncle, Donald. Donald lives in San Diego. At the time of the incident, Donald was a teenager. He would be around 56 years old now. The incident happened sometime between 1980 to 1982, though the exact date is unclear. Back then, the roads were not well developed. Donald, as a teenager, was quite energetic and adventurous. He worked in agriculture and drove bullock cart. He had 4 cows. Two of the cows were used by his father for farming, and the other 2 were used to pull the bullock cart. A few days before the incident, Donald was offered to take a wedding party to a far-off village. Since the offer came from someone he knew, he accepted it. However, the wedding village was quite far away. The village from where the bridegroom will be picked up is Bidyanand village, which is also called Majapara village. There is no issue with that, as it will take only about 1 hour to travel from Majapara village to that village, which is fine with him. The wedding date is getting closer, so that's fine. However, the problem occurred the evening before the wedding when Donald's father fell ill. He wouldn't be able to drive the car. So some people who were invited asked if I could take the car. Since Donald's uncle sometimes drove, he knew the rules, and that's why his father asked Donald's father to handle this responsibility. But since he was ill, he couldn't come, so he sent a car instead. Since he couldn't send the car earlier, the message was sent late in the evening. At the time, it would have been impossible to manage an ox cart to the village. That's why Donald was asked to take the car. Started his journey, and he had to drive about 30 kilometers to reach the village, which is quite a distance in rural areas. When they reached, it was already noon. After delivering the goods, they rested for a while and then took the cows off the cart to let them rest, as they had walked a long distance. It was important to hurry because if the wedding ceremony went on too late, there had been cases of robbery of the bride's gold jewelry. So they rushed to complete the ceremony quickly. After eating, they started their journey again, and it was expected to be late when they returned. The car was not large enough for many people, so for the return journey, some of the guests would walk, and only the husband and wife would sit in the car. The rest would go on foot or find another way. The ox cart was moving faster than walking, so they were a bit behind. When it got dark, they reached the mosque where they planned to stop for prayers. By then, both the husband and wife were exhausted and had fallen asleep in the car. Donald was driving and didn't waken them up because they were so tired. Suddenly, someone called from behind, and it was an elderly woman's voice. Donald stopped the cart because the cows were getting tired and couldn't move anymore. This voice belongs to an elderly woman. As soon as she spoke, Donald didn't stop the cart and his cows stood still. He couldn't get the cows to move forward. Then someone started calling from behind. Hey, hey, hey over there. Donald still hadn't gotten off the cart. He turned his body slightly to look behind and saw an elderly woman standing by the side of the road. She looked like a typical old woman, hunched over and wearing dirty clothes. The elderly woman said, Donald, Muhammad is telling you, I have a lot of trouble walking. Can you please help me get on the cart? I am in pain. Donald had heard from his father that it was dangerous to pick up strangers at night, especially women or people with bad intentions. So he was a little hesitant to help her. He thought this situation wasn't normal. But then, since he couldn't move the cows, he decided to take out his torch and light something to get the cows moving. The cows began walking again after he did this. The old woman, however, kept calling, "Take me with you, help me." But Donald didn't pay attention and kept moving forward. After about 15 to 20 minutes, something strange happened. The old woman suddenly appeared in front of Donald's cart, which scared him. The cows stopped and became anxious. She started calling again, "Take me with you. I'm really struggling." Donald shouted, "Move away. I can't take you." But the woman didn't move. Then Donald tried to push the cows forward, but they wouldn't budge. He decided to light the tail of one of the cows with the torch again. The cow started moving and Donald blew out the fire before it got too big. When he did the same to the second cow, the woman suddenly disappeared in front of his eyes. Later, when the cart passed by the woman's body on the road, she was lying there, and as the cart went over her, she screamed. Later, when the cart passed by the woman's body on the road, she was lying there, and as the cart went over her, she screamed, "You didn't do the right thing. You ran the cart over my body, and now look at the damage you have done to me. I'm getting older. Will you accept me or not? But why didn't the car go over my body? You didn't do a good job." Donald hadn't thought of any solution yet, but after this, he called Howard, asking him to help. He told them that they might be afraid of this situation. The new bride might be scared after hearing this, but don't say anything about it. He then called them and started talking with the person who was there. This is how they continued without any problem. After they had left, other people came to the house about half an hour to 1 hour later. During this time, they rested. Donald had a light snack and drank water before he wanted to leave. By then, it was quite late, around 10 to 10:30 p.m., which was a late hour in those days, although it's nothing compared to current times. Donald asked him to stay, but the man said that his home was just an hour away and it wasn't necessary to stay. Also, he didn't feel comfortable sleeping somewhere other than his own place. So he decided to leave. He wasn't far, so it was okay. He took his cart and set up. Donald, however, felt responsible for him, but he thought that the straight path would take too long. So he decided to go along the river instead. It would save time and the river bridge would be nice. So instead of taking the main road, he turned the cart toward the river. The river bank had a sandy path, but it wasn't proper road. The ground was wet, so the cart's wheels got stuck a bit, but he kept going in that direction. As he drove, he sang a song in the style of northern part. The moonlight reflected on the river's surface, creating a beautiful scene. He felt relaxed and happy as he ate and drank. Donald had given him good money, and Carlos was in a cheerful mood. After some time, he saw 4 tall people standing ahead. They were elderly and had long robes. They also had a body wrapped in white cloth on the ground. One of them called out to him, asked him to stop the cart. Before Donald could stop the cart, the cow stopped. One of the elderly people said, "We last saw our sister. We are heading to a nearby village and you will pass it. Can you take her body to the village? We will pay you a good amount of money. Donald was hesitant because his father had warned him not to carry a dead body in the cart. But he thought about the large amount of money they offered and finally agreed. The elderly people said, "We can't help, we will have to do it alone." So Donald got out of the cart, and when he tried to lift the body, it wasn't very heavy, maybe 60 to 70 kg, but it felt fine. He said, "It would be better if we walk with the cart because the ground is soft and the wheels might get stuck." The elderly people agreed and walked alongside. After a short distance, suddenly the cart shook. Donald stopped the cows and looked back, but the four elderly people and the body were gone. The body was lying on the ground, and the elderly people were nowhere to be seen. He felt sad and confused. He wondered if they hadn't kept up with the cart or if something else had happened. The body fell to the ground behind it. At that moment, Donald felt very sad. Because of this, the people there were still present. Maybe I couldn't walk in sync with the car. The body, a woman's, fell onto the ground. She had fallen and suffered because in Islam it's believed that even a dead body feels pain. So maybe it suffered when it fell. Donald thought about this and tried to lift the body back into the car. But she couldn't. The body felt very heavy and he couldn't lift it. Just moments earlier, the body had been easily placed in the car. He wondered what was going on. Was it really just a body or something heavier? He uncovered the cloth covering the face, and then he saw, oh, this was the same woman who had repeatedly tried to get into the car at different places. Eventually, the car had run over her. When Donald uncovered the cloth, the woman's eyes were still closed. After a few seconds, the woman suddenly opened her eyes and, without saying anything, grabbed Donald's hand tightly. It was a cold grip. The woman said, "Why did you do this? I tried to get into your car many times, but you ran over me. Now my body is badly hurt. I won't survive today. My brothers are coming for you. It's the end for you." After this, Donald screamed loudly. He couldn't remember anything after that. Meanwhile, some people, including Donald's father, were looking for him. They went to the house of the bride's family, but were told he had already left. Thinking he might have taken another route, they decided to follow the river path. After a while, they saw a car in the distance. It looked like an ox cart, but no ox was visible. Something seemed to be moving inside. They approached, but there was no clear sign of what it was. It was a very scary sight. The ox was gone, and they found Donald's uncle unconscious behind an empty cart. The people helped Donald's uncle back to the house. After Donald regained consciousness, he was asked. They approached, but there was no clear sign of what it was. It was a very scary sight. The ox gone, and they found Donald unconscious behind an empty cart. The people helped Donald back to the house. After Donald regained consciousness, he was asked what happened. He couldn't recall everything clearly but gave a vague answer. Later, they brought a respected religious leader to help. The religious leader revealed that the woman was a type of spirit called a dakini. At that night, especially when a husband and wife are in a car, this spirit tries to board the car. If she can board, she harms people, making herself stronger. However, she can only get in if the driver allows her. Without permission, she can't enter the car. No matter how many times she tries, when she couldn't get in, she lay in front of the car, hoping to force her way in. Donald unknowingly gave her permission, and that's why the car ran over her. Her body was hurt and Takini had 4 brothers. They were creating a kind of illusion. Along the river bank, they didn't come forward at all. They were waiting for the right moment when they could approach alone. When they came by the river bank, they found a better chance. At that moment, the 4 brothers were waiting with their sister, pretending she was dead. But they couldn't just put her body in the car because the driver would have had to calm down, and only then could he have gotten in the car. So they managed to sit on the top of the car. Then the woman wanted to make Donald react angrily. This was because he had eaten a cow, and when the cow was halfway eaten, people started arriving. After that, Donald would have lost his temper. These people were dangerous. It was a confusing situation. The people arrived, but they couldn't do that they intended. Later, the respected religious leader said, "Anyway, you have already been pushed around. You have been hurt. Don't harm the boy anymore." Still, the situation didn't make sense. Despite everything, the boy walked away. After that, no such problems happened again. Donald passed the situation. He didn't get the alcohol. He is doing well, alive, and healthy. Thank you for staying with us. If you have had any such miraculous and scary incident, you can send it to thehorrorstories@yahoo.com, and we will try to read the story in the next episode.